Hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris Holmey. You're here with more Starters Order 7, the breeding series. We went over in episode 1 a little bit about how I use those series to build the transfer list, what I look for in some horses, how to find the hidden traits of the horses, and kind of how I replay the same year over and over to breed from multiple horses if I think that there are multiple horses there that may not be there next season. They may retire or whatnot. So that's one aspect of the breeding save. But that's when you've got a save set up. And that was at the end of a very successful breeding save I had. So how do we put together a proper breeding save? We've done this with a game we already had going. We abandoned the racing, we jumped straight into the breeding, and we've got some good horses we want to work with from our transfer list. How do we set that up? Well, choose your country. It doesn't really matter because they're all going on the transfer list and they can be imported into any other game. So that doesn't really matter. Choose the type. That doesn't really matter either. If you want jumps horses, go for jumps. Don't go, if you're playing the Start It mod, which I invariably am, don't go for just a jump schedule because that can crash currently. I think a fix is in the works. Instead, go for combined. If you want jumps horses, then make sure you've got jumps in the schedule. If you just want flat horses, just go for flat. Easier means more predictable breeding. It means more horses to start with a bit of extra money. We can build our bank balance a little bit quicker. That's going to help us. The other difficulties, a bit more random breeding, but nothing really else matters. You just have less money as, at the start of the game that you're able to use to really boost things. So I play on easier. I play a US flat schedule on the Start It mod. And at the end of the last episode, we killed our game in slot 8. I'm going to start a new game. Form cards, we don't need them retained. Minimum there, it doesn't really matter. We're set up all as we are. Run one auto day. If you want to run more, you can. But it does take a while to auto-play a season, apparently. I don't know why. Especially on the Start It mod, it can take an absolute age sometimes. So, I'm going to start a new game here. Hope it doesn't crash, because it can do at times. There's a lot of information. I am not going to play with legends. Even though they would help with the betting early on. You can select Frankel, for example. And you could select maybe one or two others like Black Caviar. Secretariat seems nerfed on Starters Order 7, which distresses me completely. But Black Caviar normally wins 90% of their races. Frankel, normally 100% unless they get injured or something dramatic happens. So I wouldn't really go past those two, really. Like I say, Secretariat is okay, should be a lot better. Delami's pretty good as well, really. So, yeah. Pick who you want if you want them. I'm not going to go on with them. But it will help you early on in giving you some horses you can bet on. Especially, like I say, Frankel, Black Caviar. You can bet on them with all your money in any race early on, first 2 or 3 seasons. And they will just win you a ton of money back. So, you can see now we're going to build form and everything. It's going to take some time to get done. But, yeah, when this is done, I will rejoin you at the start of the game and show you that once it's all set up, how I do things. We get our breeding program underway early as possible, and we get through things quite well. So, I'll return when this is all done. Okay, we are through the process. And we finally have ourselves a basic game. We got $340,000. We haven't even chosen where to put our stable. We got no improvements whatsoever. We just got 5 starting horses. So running for gold is not great. We're going to sell her. Timeless Times is actually pretty decent, you know. Wow, I did not expect that. Yeah, we're still going to sell, but maybe we're going to get some money. That would be nice. That would be nice. Guam, well, not totally terrible either. Another 2 we really like. Worried. Yeah, nice. And Trash. Hopefully get some money. And Frigid. Nice and trash, but hopefully get some money. Now, what we can do as well, remember, is check the lineages here. So, if we look here, Days Last is pretty terrible. Farmer Frank has already been retired. You'll normally find this. Terrible. And Goldaway. Goldaway is not bad, but not really what we're looking for. So we don't find someone to breed from initially in year 1. And that's fine. Put your stable down somewhere. Nice and cheap. Don't really worry about it. Leave all these on the lowest levels you can because you're not going to be using them. If this is an entirely breeding save, you're not going to be racing. You don't need that kind of stuff. So what we do is we go, we skip the day, we end up at the auction with our 5. I normally like to show up for the auction to make sure the people are bidding. As soon as you see a bid happen, you can skip and you will get the most money. So there, Timeless Times, 2 million. That's a good start. That's a good start. So we're up to about 2.7 with our 2 2-year-olds left to go. 600,000 is not bad. I wanted more. Okay, so we land a bit short of what I wanted to be. I wanted to be slightly over 4. I thought 4.2 was realistic. Ugh, that sucks. One good thing is we have made $1 million. Now, I don't know why this is off. I don't know why this is all broken up and blah, whatever. So, right now, we've got 3.7 million. We've got no facilities. We've got no horses. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. This is where I save the game. And I'm going to go into the day's racing. And I'm going to check. 4 3/4. Look at that. JustBookie.com coming up big. So JustBookie in the first. Nothing else yet, but JustBookie in the first. I don't really want to do 2.5. I like 3 and above. So JustBookie and then Pack Ice. Pack Ice at 3. So JustBookie and Pack Ice. JustBookie and Pack Ice. That was quite lackluster. I'm not gonna lie. Normally we get better than that. So we're gonna revert the backup. That's gonna take us in at the start of that same day. And now we're just gonna absolutely unload all our money in on JustBookie.com. It's not gonna take long because we don't have that much to get in. But when I say absolutely everything, I do mean absolutely everything. We go here to the result. JustBookie doesn't win by as much, but because it had won in such fashion, we knew we felt comfortable. So now we got 10.5 million. Now we're going to find the 3 o'clock race. And that 3 o'clock race is Pack Ice, I believe, was the one we were looking for. And now we got 10.5 million to throw in. And Pack Ice, we're at least going to double our money here because that's kind of where the odds are. So we should come out of today with 20 million. We started with 340,000, a good 4-year-old, and just trash. We're going to parlay that into about 20 million to begin with. And again, this can take some time, but you're going to be able to make your money, so it's worth it. The other thing to remember is, what happens if Pack Ice has a really bad start, or just gets unlucky, gets injured, gets disqualified? You save quit, you reload the backup, you go and do it again. But Pack Ice comes through 6.5. And now we're sitting on 31.3 basically. That's day one. Lovely. Let's go turn this 31 million into something. So again, all I'm looking for, I'm clicking result, I'm looking in the race, I'm trying to find 3 and above. Rebo's guest might be okay, I guess. But it's click, and then we go Gabriel Star. So let me actually make a note of these. Okay, but I click to find the race. I click the form book. I'm just looking here. I'm just looking at the distance between first and second. And then I escape, and it's back to result, form book. I look over. Pip might be okay. Pip might be okay. So I know I've got 2 that might get beaten if the race is rerun. 1 that should win at least. And we'll be able to make some money back that way. But if we get this right, we're probably going to end up around that 100 million mark before the end of the first week. So, okay. Let's go find out. I got Rebo's guess, I got Gabriel's star, which is the one we actually like. And then we got Pit. So, Rebo's guest is at least nice and sort of long odds. Enough to the point where 9-2, 4-1. So, if it does come through for us, it'll be a big amount of money. We're going to put all 30 million on and just cross our fingers and hope. I'm not going to make you sit through that. I was going to say not going to let you, but not going to make you sit through that. I'll be back when all the money's on and we're going to skip to the end of it. So I'll see you then. And we are under 20 million. And we are closing in on 600 bids on this race. It does take some time. This is about 3 or 4 minutes later. And as you can see, that number is just going up as fast as I can kind of click. It's not as fast as I can click because the game doesn't sort of go above a certain speed, sadly. But yeah, we're going to get through the rest of this money and then pray that Rebo's guest actually, is able to win this. Sometimes if you're not able to put a lot of money on, let's say 20,000. If we do this, sometimes it allows us to put more on. Sometimes less. We're kind of getting back to where we were. 14, 15 now. If we go all the way through. Yeah, it looks like it's going to limit us even more. So I kind of screw myself by doing that. Sometimes, though, it's easier. But either way, we're going to be here for the next 10 minutes or so just on this race. And then imagine if I'm putting 100 million on Gabriel Star and I'm putting money on Pit. It gets to be a lot. So, okay, I'm going to put 750 bids on. This is going to take way too long for what I want, and he might not win. Yeah, it didn't win. Outpace finish. That's why I don't like those under 3 million. So we're just going to save and quit and kick out. And we're just going to do the one race. We're going to bet on the one race. The one race that we know is something. So we're looking for Gabriel's star. And there we are. Look at this. We're able to bid quite a bit more here. Quite a bit more. And I seem to be in a good rhythm here with the numbers jumping up quite quickly. So we're bidding about 30 per, which means 100k every 3.5 bids, pretty much. Yes, this is more like it. This is more like it, and this was the one that actually won by a decent amount anyway, so let's see if we can't keep things going on the right track here. Already up to 200 bids, and like I say, I'll be with you when we've done all this, but I'm pretty sure we're going to get about 3-1. I did just play some accident on Mac's show, but 3-1, we're putting 30 million down. That means we should win 90 million, which means we should be, you know, right around the mark we want to be to start off a breeding save. So it took about 20 to 25 minutes for the entire game to start up and to get to this point. So hopefully, I'd say maybe an hour's worth of setup. That's kind of my ballpark for being able to really start breeding. And we're not going to get there that quickly in this video. But about an hour setup, and we're going to get that done by the end of this video. So it might take a little while to get there. But it involves not only setting up the game the way you want it, as we've already done, then going in and scouting races and betting, as we've already done, but then buying the facilities up, bringing over the transfer horses, going to some auctions to get a ton more mares, and getting that first year's breeding completely done. That normally, I think, is ballpark an hour. But it does put me in a position then where from that point on, I'm actually in a very, very good place. And we can really, really get the job done and win. So, there we are, 500 bets. That's what we're on about. So yeah, we're able to get things done quite quickly after that point. So if you're willing to invest that hour, and you're willing to invest, you know, a couple of hours a day to run through seasons, to scout more prospects, and to get your breeding done and transfer them to the transfer list and everything, that's where you're going to find success. That's where you're going to have horses you can pull into your regular saves. That's where you're going to be able to save, you know, some of those good horses to seed a brand new save, or to seed a brand new breeding save and restart that whole process when you feel the pool has run dry in your current game. So, as I say, I think it's well worth it. Some people won't, especially this point. It's just very, very, very laborious. But hey, the game's making you do something difficult right now, which is just physically keep clicking through millions and millions of dollars a bet, 30,000 at a time. You're putting 30 million down, 30,000 at a time, basically. It's, you know, it's a lot. It's a lot. You're going to be up there on 1,000 minimum bets. And we're closing back in on that 750. But as you can see, that the odds still aren't really going down. We're going to 11-4, and then we're coming back up to 3-1s. So it's not too bad on that side of things. Now I need to change my hands to give the lactic acid a chance to get rid of itself from my forearm. But I got through a ton of bids. Got through a ton of bids there. So 800, we've got 8 million. Let's go back to that hand, because I think I'm quicker on that. And some more, again, some more shows creeping in there. It doesn't really matter, because you're still going to earn your money. Like I say, right now we've put about 25 million, I think, on Gabriel Star to win. I wish we could just fill out our tickets and it wasn't bounded by any sort of upper limit. And I'd be happy for it to be bounded maybe by 1 million per bet. Because then it's like 30 clicks. It's not 895 or 900 clicks as we're currently on. So we're going to break the 1,000 clicks before we get to the end of this amount. I'll be back when we're there. Okay, we're coming down to the final clicks. Oh my god, I hate this part. There we go. Maxed out 1,103 bits. You better win, Gabe. You better win. I'm gonna save here because sometimes when I've reloaded, it's take me to the start of the race I've saved before. Sometimes it doesn't. Very often it doesn't, but once or twice it does. So just in case Gabriel Star doesn't win, we might have saved it where we put all the bets on and we're going to run the race. But I think he's going to win. There it is. 3.5. 122 million. You know what? It's a decent place to start. That's a decent place to start. Okay. So now that you've got all this money, let's make sure everyone's getting done here. Staff level to high, wages to high, fee to high. Paddock start I don't need because I'm not racing. So at the beginning we cut all these back. Right now I don't know if they affect how well a horse develops, or how good the breeding is. I don't know. We definitely don't need these, and we definitely don't need paddock start help. But now we're sitting in a pretty good place. So now this is, let's see, what could we call this? I'm just going to call it the Bahama Barns, because I don't want to think about it, and alliteration is always a go-to in those situations. So right now, yeah, we've got a ton of money in the bank, 118 million pretty much. We've gone through and we've put in total over 45.6 million on in bets. And yeah, the stable's got a little better. Cash reserves have gone through the roof. But we're in a position now where we're not paying out too much money every month. So we should never have to worry about going bankrupt. Should. But right now, we've got the breeding facilities and everything, but we've got no information. We don't know what these horses are going to be like. We don't know who is who or how good they're going to be. We need to figure this out. So at this point, 5th of January, I'm going to save again. This is where we truly start our work in terms of the breeding. I'm going to jump in here to my little list and figure out who I want to bring through. Now, the thing is, right now I have 16 females on transfer list 4, which is the one we've got installed. So I'm going to go make sure I've got a backup of that transfer list that's up to date. Okay, so I do know I have one on the desktop. So all I'm going to do is pull in all these female horses, because we've got 16. We've pulled into, there should be exactly 16 of them on this list. And normally I'd see that slightly differently than this, and I'd do it a slightly different way. But honestly, I think that this is actually going to work out just fine. This is going to work out just fine. So we've got 4 more. And we've got 4 more to come in. There we go. Lovely. So all of those are now in the game as yearlings. I'm going to save and quit that. I just dragged and dropped the TTF file back into my save folder from the desktop, which means we do not use up these yearlings. So now they are not only in the game, but still on the list. And we're going to have all of these come into the breeding barn next season. So this season, what can we do? Well, I'm actually going to go through every single Friday auction, every breeder's auction, and just start buying up quite a lot of these female horses. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. I don't think I'm going to go and bring yearlings in because we're still in the setup phase. But right now, looking at all of these, I'm looking for people that have got sires and dams as well, so I can check those out. But pretty much, I'm just looking for female horses. And there'll be a reason for that a little later. We'll get on to why. And some of you might have figured it out. And they can be as bad as you want them to be. They can be as cheap as you need them to be. We've got money to spend, but I don't want to spend money if I don't have to. But the good thing is, already, you can see we're in, good territory. And they can be excitable. They can be anything. It really doesn't matter. That one was way too expensive for what we're going to use it for. And yeah, all we're going to do here is retire the Malta stud. And then with these three, I am just going to go off whoever costs the most right now. So we got Iska, we got Fontano, and we got Glingamil. We're going to repeat the unsuccessful pairings. That's all I'm going off. And then we're just going to go around to the next Friday auction. And we're going to repeat the case until we've got about 25 to 30 horses. That's normally where I think's a good place to stop. But here we go. We got another two who should be fairly cheap. And like I say, you can overpay for these horses quite a lot. It really doesn't matter. Jump up the auction. Throw them into the stud. They cannot be running right now, but that's fine. I guess we didn't get one of those horses. I thought we got them both, but that's okay. King Kane. Round to the next Friday auction. Let's see what shows up. A grade 1 3-year-old and Field of Miracles. Okay. Okay, is this one going to be any good? Highly doubt it, but going to pay our 2 million. Going to see what that one turns out like. And then we're just going to pay a decent amount of money for this one too. So Field of Miracles, we don't care what you're like. Angel's Kiss looks absolutely terrible as well. They both go to the breeding barn. We've already got 6. We're not even out of January yet. We've already got 6. So yeah. Seren Rouge. And Hajas. Then I'm going to go around. We could buy those 2-year-olds. 2-year-old auctions would actually be pretty good in places. Yeah, for a breeding save, they can be pretty good. So maybe the next one of those, we will actually look at it. So we'll figure that out as we get there. There's also Hello Buds next. And then should be another Friday auction with another cheap, really bad young female horse, which is exactly the profile we are actually looking for, which it feels weird. It does feel weird for me. I don't normally do this as much. I normally skip the first year and use those 16 yearlings to breed from. But right now, I'm doing something a little bit new for me. And I hope it works out. So on the 10th, we have a breeders' auction. And that's a really good auction because they're all going to be females. So now we can really match up here. So all we're doing here is buying up horses to put in the breeders' barn to breed with the game breds so that we can get an idea of what those game breds might look like. As long as they're not retired from the game, we'll be able to use our little trick on the horse stats screen to jump up and actually look at their stats. And we're going to build a little short list of 4 to 5 horses that we want to breed from. And then I'm going to run through those 4 to 5 horses with from next season onwards, with the 16 female horses, the yearlings that we've currently got, that we brought in off the transfer list. I'm going to use those 16 with those 5 horses over 5 versions of the same season, and we will see a ton of good horses fold. And that's going to be my kind of main point here. This is where it starts, because these horses allow us to find good game-bred stallions that we can then in season 2 start to breed to our horses that we've already brought in as yearlings. So this is kind of a dead year anyway. So now we're able to use it for a little bit more. And yeah, multis are not very good. Good contact, not very good. Gifted dancer, not very good. Decent stats elsewhere. But we're up to 17. As you can see, we're already in a pretty good place. So we're going to have see you there. And down the stretch. Crown Council. And as I say, it doesn't really matter who you breed to who. It really doesn't matter at this stage. As long as you're just getting a wide selection that you can then use going forward. And I'm starting with the most expensive ones because they are the ones that right now have the best chance of being the best horses. The game's possibly trying to tell you something. I would be surprised if Confused Fear isn't one of the best breeders in the game. Because we got 300, nearly 400,000 for Glingamil. Then Fontano up to 6.5. So why is Confused Fear another big jump up to 1 million? I would say these two are probably amongst the best. There may be some hidden gems. We've only got another one over 100,000. So we'll see that. And then I'm actually just going to jump in and look at the best racers that year. And any we haven't bred from. And again, these are probably ones we have. But like Trouble Mountain, Majestic Mayhem, State Senator, Patavium. These are the horses now that we're getting into that have some good grade 1s or grade 2s. They'll be the ones next up for our breeding program. But already we've got 17 of the most expensive horses that we'll be able to know exactly what they look like at the end of this year. So let's go and grab these two. And again, you can always be buying up. Now you've got the bank balance. You can be buying out entire yearling auctions, 2-year-old auctions. Looking if they've got a lineage, normally season 3, 4 onwards. You'll be able to check out what their sires look like and what, their sires look like if it's gone on that far. So you'll be able to learn about other horses to breed from, even if you're not getting anything good in the auctions. You'll also be able to pick up all the good male horses that you might like the look of. All those grade 1 winners that show up in a Friday auction. So you've got the money, you can use it, and you can always go and bet again. And I showed you in 10, 15 minutes maybe. Most of that just putting bets on how quickly you can get that kind of money. And again, we're now below 100 million. But I've got 19 breeders, and I've got, still all that money. We've upgraded everything, and we've got 16 absolutely amazing horses coming through. So, it's going to be 100% fine. It's going to be 100% fine. Let's get Trouble Mountain done. As I say, 2-year-olds. You can see all these 2-year-olds. And they've all got sires. A lot of these have got the same sires. But I'm not going to quibble over that right now. Since we have the money to blow early on and a chance to get a lot more money in the future, we're just going to go ahead and buy out this 2-year-old auction. That is over reserve. I thought it was. But yeah, we're just going to buy out this 2-year-old auction and go and check their size. And if these are actually good enough, we'll end up breeding from some of these as well. But all these fillies will get put into the breeding barn. And again, get bred to some of those game breds. Well, all these colts that we've got are just here to check lineage. And then maybe to resell for more money if we needed to. Or if they're good enough, to maybe even go into the breeding barn and we'll just spend a year breeding from that horse. So, while I wouldn't recommend 2-year-old auctions realistically in terms of the quality you get from them usually, especially in a racing save where you might not have the most money and you might not be able just to skip through 2 or 3 years in a session and get yourself, 50 2-year-olds to find that one that might be good. I can't really recommend from that point of view. But in a breeding save, where all you're looking for, where money is really just pointless. It really is. It's so easy to get more money of. There's so many ways to cheat the system to get money. And all you're looking for is information to help your breeding program. That's when 2-year-old auctions, I think, become the best out there. Because even in these early years, when a lot of these horses are just generated at start and they're not bred at all, the 2-year-olds are. These 2-year-olds have that breeding. You can see their lineages. So once you own the 2-year-old, you can see both the sire and dam and start thinking of other ones you can pick up later on. You can start building that profile, that list of good sires, the good dams, who you might want to pick up if they come up in an auction, who you want to breed from when they appear in the stud barn. And if they already have a foal, then you're already going to be in there. So, yes, we're wasting a lot of money. No, it really doesn't matter. And yes, it will pay off long term. So, don't get too caught up in those details. And it's these sort of things which is why I say it can take about an hour to properly set up to the point where I've got my list of who to breed from. I've got my horses in game I want to breed on my end. The list of mares that I want to breed with. Some of these game breds. I've got my facility. I've got my bank balance. Plus the startup of the game. It can take some time. And running through the entire first season. With all this involved. With all the auctions involved. But if you put that hour in, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by what you get out the other side. And once that hour is set up, you can get a good 10, 15 years of breeding save going. And That normally lasts me about a week or two, depending how much I play it. But about a week or two, I'd say, in general. So an hour every fortnight is not a bad thing at all. Okay, final one coming up then, Tancred Spirit. And that will do me. We didn't get them all. We missed out on a couple. That's fine. So Vaxi's already out the game. Film buff isn't really anything. Already out the game isn't really anything. And this is going to be most of these. You're going to get a poor dam with a stallion that's not really amazing. Now, see, Patavium's about the best we've seen so far. But it's not really where we want to be, and we're still early on. So hopefully something else will come through. That's not a bad horse. The mare isn't too different. So low confidence, low enthusiasm. That does seem to be something that the game breds have a lot of. But Garlett's there, 75, 70, 100, 100. That's okay. If I didn't have anything else to breed from, I might breed our horses to Garlett. Maybe. But again, you've got to just see. You never know what comes up, what doesn't come up. You might find a really good 2-year-old. You might find someone that you really like, and Sahara is not bad here, which means maybe comes from a good place of breeding. We don't know, and their sire has been taken up the game. And that was a Patavium we've already seen. Marathon's got good extra speed, but not too much else. But again, we can just go through and see so much information. And we're starting to learn some of these names. And Claret in the Blood is not very good. So we start getting some of these names now that we've been looking through. And we know now not to breed from those kind of horses. We're going to know not to breed from those horses. It doesn't look like we stumbled across anything, but again, we might have had one that was good to breed from. And Gold Away, not great extra speed, not a full finish. But again, that's a second one that isn't the worst to breed from. Possibly. But it's not up where we really want it. But you normally won't get a really good stud in the game bred barns for quite some time. Normally, it will be horses that have already retired that were good. Like Lariat Sam might be pretty good. Who knows? Spice Bar might have been really good. But yeah, if they're not in the game, and you can tell. So the 2-year-old auction, we didn't find anything. We didn't uncover any gems, either as 2-year-olds or as actual information moving forward. I'm going to keep one of them. I'm going to throw all these colts back into the auction block, but I'm going to make sure they are gelded so we don't pass on those stats that we don't like the look of. There's no point in clouding the breeding pool, so we're going to geld all of these. Okay. And then retire all these fillies into the stud barn, or into the breeding barn, but it says retire the stud. And that's going to allow us to check out even more of these game-bred horses. So not only did we get to see what their sires and dams looked like, but now we're up to my magical 30 marker. And now I can just start breeding from kind of whoever I want, whoever I think might be good. Or if we've already seen someone that's good, we can kind of take a risk on them too. Or maybe not a risk, because we know what they look like. If you like any of the stud farms themselves, you think one of those is going to be sort of better than the others, you can always take a risk on those kind of horses. So you're able to kind of take a look in. No, that's not what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. Okay. I was getting confused there, so yeah, right now we're just filling out highest rated or the most Group 1 wins, the highest breeding, highest breeding fee. We got the career records here, which have we gone for like Bond Fantastic and these? No. Excellent. So we got 3 here. Got Prince Pippin. We got Honest and True. I think we might have seen this one before. I think we might have seen that. Might be one of the 2-year-olds. Or that might be from a different game. I'm not entirely sure. But I've got my 30. I've got my 30. We're going to go to the end of this day. Again, we're going to jump into every auction. As soon as we see a bid, we're just going to jump out to the next lot. Just make sure that they all do sell. We're going to make some money back. We're already back above 80. And yeah, we're probably not even going to hit 85. But it really doesn't matter. Because I can go and drop 15, 20 million on a 5-to-1 shot that I know can win quite big. And suddenly we're way back over 100 million again. So I really don't worry about it. But 83, that's not bad. And again, now all we're looking to do is skip through the season. And why? Because we've already taken a 2-year-old auction. We've looked at some of those. We haven't uncovered any gems. What we do have is 30 of, with limited information, 30 of what we could guess might be the best studs in the entire game-bred stallion farms and stud farms out there. So if we get through this season, we'll be able to check those stats, write them down if they're good enough. And then from next season onwards, start breeding our pool of 16 good horses after clearing out our entire breeding stables as we got them currently. Just have those 16 good ones in there and hopefully have a few names to breed from them. And another thing you can do is, if you've got 3 names, you can do them over 2 to 3 years. If they're young enough, they're not going to retire out of the breeding barn. Normally, if they're like 7 years of age at the oldest when you breed from them, they don't normally leave the breeding barn too often before then. You're taking a risk with the, I don't know, the 10 and 12-year-olds and that sort of thing. But if you do it young enough, you can do that in-game. That gives another 3 years of racing and breeding within the game. That allows more horses to get added to the stud pool. And then you take your 16 horses and you find out more information about those. Some of the new names, some of the younger horses that make it onto that list. And that's how you can keep the save going on for 10, 15 years without worrying, rather than it dying out after 4 or 5. Okay, we are at the end of the year, having simulated through after the breeding. We can jump into our breeding pool and see that Right now, there are 3 foals on our yearling list. That boosts the 16, of course, up to 19. We still have all these to come for next season, but we can check our 3. So, Muja, farewell. We're not expecting to be any good because quite a lot of our horses that we've put together in the breeding barn aren't that good. But what we're looking for now is the sire. So we can see here extra speed on Confused Spear, but nothing, anything there. Fontano is good enough. Fontano's good enough. Low confidence, but Fontano is a name we can add. So now we can go into our little notes here, and we can say that we're looking at Fontano. Fontano, yes. Excellent. And he was basically 85, 85, 10, 0, 50, 70, 30, 40, 100, 100. That's basically where he was, because there's the list of stats I'm working from. Then we can put him away. But we now have Fontano as a possible there. And then Glingamil, 0 finish application. Could be good, but 0 finish application there. And just to tidy things up, we're going to get rid of those 3. So, currently we found 1 horse to breed from. We still have a lot more to go. Let's go through then to the start of the next season. And that'll bring in all of our 2-year-olds to put into the breeding barn. And we'll get around to those. But now we've got these 27. Now we can have a look at General Kutzov again. Looks okay, but not what we're looking for. Saki with the active fox. Not what we're looking for. And we just keep going through one by one till we hit something that's got full finish and consistency, 80 extra speed, and 80 potential. That's what I'm looking for. If I can get that, then great. If not, then all these horses we bred with, at least we know not to breed with them. So this first year is about setting up a little bit of an idea over what comes next. This is all set up for that first true breeding program. And right now, King Kane doesn't look too bad. Did I put them on the transfer list? Did I get rid of them? I got rid of them. Good. Yeah, no breeding. I thought then, why are they there? Decent, but not good enough. So, yeah, right now Fontano might be the only name we've got, but it's more than we had this time last year. Tara Royal 5. Might be a late developer, but is also very excitable, so yeah, almost there. That might have been an okay one. Whoops, pressed it too much there. So that might have been okay, but in general, who knows? Who knows? And sometimes the best looking aren't the best breeders. Hello Bud's not bad, but again, we're not looking for not bad. We've got top quality dams. We're looking for top quality sires. And this is going to get easier, I think. Years 4 to 6 normally is when we start seeing a few more creep in. We got Batavian back again, who is another one that is okay, but really not really what we're looking for. I've got to make sure that I'm not clicking the wrong places and getting rid of the wrong horses we haven't yet looked at. I tend to get into a rhythm with these kind of things, and The moment that rhythm is broken, things go poorly. So, you see what happens when you go on an extra year? Sometimes a lot of those studs actually just disappear. They are retired from the breeding barn, they've done their business. See, Muzo's got good extra speed, but not where we want it. But what's really impressive is the cruising burst. Potential's not bad, other things not bad, but doesn't have what we're looking for. And I'm also not really looking at our yearlings here because I really don't believe any of them will be good enough, because if nothing else, the dams that we've put into the breeding barn are pretty poor. Trouble mounting, again, isn't really good enough, but there's a couple of interesting parts there. And if that had a full finish, that would actually be good enough. From Field to Miracle looking that poor potential. Half of our finish application. But Hayes becomes number 2 on the list. And while he's far from perfect, he's kind of good enough to breed from early. So I might let my standard slip a little early on in this save. But right now I think we've got 2. And I was expecting a few more. A couple of them have come close. And I might have bred from them. I will be honest and say I might have bred from them. I'm feeling fresh, I might have bred even with the lack of finish application. Because that distance adaptability looks just kind of crazy, you know? That looks kind of crazy. Yeah, if bred with the right horse, I don't know, that could be okay. Let me add this one to the list. So it's feeling fresh, and we are what? 75, 75, 10, 0, 55, 80, 20, 20, 0, 100. Now, I should be looking at distance adaptability and adding in everything to my list, but I don't. There are better ways of doing it than the way I do it. I fully understand that. So all those yearlings, kind of done. What we've learned is Fontano, Hages, and maybe Feeling Fresh could be okay. Fontano hits our list. He hits everything we wanted. Hages is half bar finish, but hits everything else. Feeling Fresh doesn't hit the ability or potential, and does not have any finishing. But there's something interesting to work with, so I'm okay with that. And what else we need to do now is just one by one, we go through this list of 30 that we spent how much purchasing and, breeding and spending on all those fees, like 30 million, maybe more. They all go. But I know I've basically bred from every big name on that list right now. So most of these big guys are ones that we've really looked at. There will be more coming through, like Sir Winston perhaps, Mauger. We can see now at the end of this first year who the good racers are. We're going to start seeing breeding patterns emerge. And it's going to be 3 or 4 years down the road before we can actually see how those horses all turn out. But we got a bunch of new names as well to test. And we got a bunch of names on here that we can also now ignore. So that's kind of helpful to us. But we've also got Fontano, we've got Hayes, and we've got Feeling Fresh doesn't seem to be high up on the list. That's okay. So we do have those 3 to work from. And now we just start bringing in the 16 that we had. Let's bring those in and get us up to a good place. Like I say, now we're pretty much in the position we were in the start of the first video in this series, where we now have 3 nymphs. Fontano, definitely number 1. I can breed Fontano to this entire roster of 16, and we'll see how good they go. Year 2, I can do Hedges. Year 3, I can do Feeling Fresh. I can bring a name over from one of my other transfer lists that isn't bred from the same bloodlines as all of these. You can see the naming conventions means they're all pretty much the same. All these from Dome Like That, all these from Dat Fang, and other Dats. You got all these from Coma. You got all these from Colditz, which is why there's Ice and Winter and a British Breeze. That's British Battler and Colditz progeny together. That's also more the same. That's to do with the Cold War. That's what that is, and that's housewarming, which is a nice way of bringing in the temperature but not being cold, and Snow Angel Arctic, cooling warmth. Then we got all the fars and so on. So you can see where they've been bred. So all these fillies we've got in the breeding barn, we don't really want to interbreed them with this lot. Luckily, we do have 3 other transfer lists full of colts, good colts, that we don't really don't share too much. Maybe 2 or 3 generations back to these, there'll be a similarity. But in general, they're not very close breeding. They're second, third cousins, maybe at most. So we're able to bring those in and maybe do something there. Also, we can go throughout this year and just start buying up anyone good that we like. We can also now start bringing in, buying out the yearling auctions and the 2-year-old auctions to actually find good horses that we might want to put into the stud farm. So now the game opens up. But we've done a little bit of betting and we got our money up. We've done some scouting and we've got 1 good name and 2 interesting names that we're only going to keep the progeny of if they hit our metrics anyway. So we're still looking 50% ability, 70% potential. We're looking at 70% extra speed and a full finish and consistency bar. If they don't hit those, we're not keeping the yearlings. It doesn't matter how close, how good they look. They could be amazing everywhere, but have 45% ability or 65% potential. We're not keeping them. So even if the sires or dams aren't the very, very cream, we don't need to worry. We can just breed and see what shows up. And if the foals happen to be good enough, we keep them. If not, we can get rid of them. But right now we're dealing with horses that all hit our metrics. And they're all slightly different in slightly different ways. But all of these are really good horses. And so now we can breed them. And the horses that started off on the first part of the transfer list, at the very start of Starters Order 7, they were bred together to give me the second generation, which pretty much filled the first transfer list. And then we pared them down in the 3rd generation, the 4th generation went on there, and we pared those down. And then we basically moved on to the 2nd, and that's generations 5 and 6 of breeding, maybe 7. We've got generation 8 pretty much exclusively now on the 3rd and 4th transfer list, because I've started going back and redoing the year to do multiple horses within a season rather than just do one, move on to the next year. Just so we don't miss out on any horses we do know. But because we're not huge fans of Hages or Feeling Fresh right now, I'm going to do Fantano this year, and we're not going to go back to the start of year 2. There's no point. I'm going to bring out pretty much a couple more. I think I'm going to look through my transfer lists. I'm probably going to bring out a few more fillies and a couple of studs to basically breed anyway. We're going to hit Fantano this year. We're going to bring out a couple. We're going to hit Hages and Feeling Fresh, probably year 2 and 3. By that time, the 16 or probably less, probably about 4 or 5 horses we're going to bring from other transfer lists in to help dilute the bloodline similarities. Help sort of make that a little different. We'll bring those in. And they might be through seasons 4, 5, let's say, for the 2 stallions. And we'll bring through maybe 4 more dams. So we go up to number 20 there. And they're all young enough, so they'll last a good 5 or 6 years before we need to worry about having yearlings good enough to replace them, which will probably happen next season onwards anyway. But that takes us through to about season 6. Without having to bring any more through the transfers. We're only bringing through about 20 names off the transfer list. Most of those being females. Because that's the core of the breeding program. So once we're at that stage, we just keep rinsing and repeating. We go and see if anybody we like. We breed everybody from that person, like we're going to do with Fantano. And we just go. And we just do it. And year after year, the good ones make it onto the transfer list. The bad ones just get deleted, basically. And then when we've got, basically, I think 5 filled transfer lists, and I think I've bred from every name on there that I kind of want to, I'm going to go through and look at just how good these horses are. And if I don't like some aspect, if they don't have full finish, if they don't have maybe above 80 potential, maybe we get rid of the 70s and 75s, maybe we get rid of the below 60 abilities, maybe we get rid of the below 80 extra speeds or the below 50 cruising bursts, maybe we just go for what will end up being a fairly similar group of horses because they'll all have basically similar stats in a lot of places. But if I do it that way, then we know we're breeding from the cream of the crop. And then I can interbreed all of those. I can put together this huge breeding matrix on an Excel file or a Google Sheet and figure out who's breeding to who, why it doesn't cause an issue with inbreeding. And from that stage on, all of those can basically go onto a brand new transfer list. And we can delete the 5 that we already had and start again. But starting each time with a much better group of young horses to work with. Also, very similar bringing horses off the transfer list. If this was a racing save, this is how I see them. I would take I'd probably take more fillies than colts just because they're more useful. They can race and breed a lot more. The colts are limited in their breeding. Yes, they can do more per season, but their longevity just isn't there. I can basically have 16, or I can have 15 fillies in the breeding barn with 1 colt. They'll continue to breed with 10 different horses over 10 different years. That colt will only breed with those that 1 year, then they're done. So I don't need that many of them. So I'm always distraught the number of colts that actually make it onto our list. But that's just the way it is. You can also save them onto the transfer list as a 2-year-old if you want to use them straight away. I've taken to do them as yearlings just to save time. But that's up to you. But at the start of a new save, you load up a new save like you saw us do. Instead of going out and basically gambling so heavily, you don't need to do that. Do it a little bit to get a couple of million in the bank. to get all your facilities maybe. And then, just as we did, and I brought up the 16 fillies that are on this transfer list, then you can go out and select, say, 12 fillies and 4 colts maybe. Bring those out into that new game, and that's where you start your racing save. That's how I see those saves. This is how I set up my breeding saves. We've already seen how the breeding save runs. So video 3 will be a shorter one, hopefully. And we will be looking through the 3 names that we wrote down. The 3 studs that we actually have. Fontano, Hages, and Feeling Fresh. Plus possibly another 2 that I bring from different transfer lists. I'm not sure who I'm going to go for there. It's probably going to be someone really, really big like Comarigo, Comma Halo back again. Bellamaker's quite high up on that list, as is Hickey Forest. We could do those maybe. But yeah, we'll bring those in, and I'll go through and very quickly just go through the season, get them bred, and take a look at which horses produced the best, which didn't, which are the most consistent breeders, and just how many yearlings would make it with my high standards to the transfer list every year. So we'll see what we can do there. We'll run this through a few seasons, and I think each video will probably be one of those horses we're breeding to, and that'll be a nice way to round things out. So you've seen how I run the save, how I set up the save, and then the results from the save. And then we'll go from there and see if there's any other questions, anything else you want answered from a breeding point of view. But I think that will be a good way of showing my entire process. So let me know what you think. Hit me up, comment section down below. Check out the Discord. That's also in the description. Till next time, though, I'll see you then. Take care, behave, stay safe, like, comment, subscribe, and come back soon. We're going to see what this breeding save can produce in the early stages.